Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. And we are here today. I was going to say usually we do like after a certain game or something like that, but we're just kind of here. We've played Stockport, we've played Matlock, we've had a decent start to pre-season so far. And yeah, as always, we've gone to Spain. The boys have been running to the ground, and Paul Warne's had his classic Paul Warne start of pre-season. So joining me today to talk about everything that's gone on so far, talk about a little bit of transfer gossip as well. We've got Callum Boocock. How are you, Cal?
Yeah, I'm all good. I'm all good. It's been warmer in the last couple of weeks, but I wouldn't say it's been quite 37 odd degrees in Spain. What the lads have been putting up with. I mean, I don't know how they've done it, but fair play to them. But no, it's going to be good talking about how they've been getting on and a few new faces.
Exactly. Yeah, there's been a couple of signings since we last had one of these, and we're also joined by Vic Singh as well. How are you, Vic?
I'm all good. I'm all good. I feel like I'm in a different time zone now with a laptop and a mic and everything. I finally updated my my setup, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to talking a bit more about Derby County and just carrying on with the weekly going on.
Great stuff. Yeah, you may have noticed that our audio quality is a little bit better. Apart from Callum, who can't work out, you meant to talk into the side of the microphone.
Yeah.
But we've got new microphones, so thank you to everyone who's watched. All your support has basically given us the amount of money that we needed to get new kit. So everyone's got a new microphone now. So hopefully, from a production perspective, everything should be a lot better as well. So we've got to kick off talking about Stockport because that is the most recent game. I didn't watch it live because unfortunately I have a job. But my brother did watch it live. I watched the highlights back, watched clips online as well, which has been quite interesting to see. Derby scored last minute. Sonny Bradley, bullet header at the far post. And it's really looked quite interesting. But the player that I kind of want to touch on first is a player that we talked about already, Kenzo Goudmijn, or as my dad calls him, Goudmijn. He really controlled the game when he played in the first sort of 60 minutes of the three halves. He looked like he was controlling the game. Yes, it's against obviously lower league opposition, but he really looks a cut above. And I mean, Callum, we talked about it when we signed him that we wanted a player who could do that, who could progress the ball from defence to the forward line, and it really looked like he had that about him.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he looks the term "cut above" springs to mind, and it's not in terms of that he's going to be the next big thing for us, but he just does something that we haven't got, which then makes him stand out. Which is someone who, as you say, can progress us through the pitch and get us up in good time, and it's because he really takes his time on passes. I mean, everyone talks about his stature, which everyone looks at. And maybe was the concern with him, but he really looked well in the first couple of pre-season games. He's held off a few players. He's then been able to spread it out wide. And it's not someone who, when we worry about Max Bird when he went, and is anyone going to be able to replace him, or even Conor Hourihane at one point with someone who just can get the ball down, because Ibu Adams isn't that sort of player. The potential new signing isn't probably going to be that player, and Louis Thompson, Thompson isn't going to be that player either. So a signing that I'm happy with. That when we look at everyone that we've got, he's not that, and he's a little bit of quality that we've needed. And I didn't realise how young he was when he first signed, and I mean. AZ Alkmaar, thank you very much for nurturing a player like that, because the last Dutch player that we had wasn't so successful of it, but I think Kenzo is going to be successful for us.
Yeah, you got to hope so. I mean, Vic, we talked about Hardmine in the last episode that we had. We hadn't actually seen him in a Derby shirt before then. Obviously, had a spell against Matlock, which we'll talk about. But as Callum says, he's the sort of player that we don't have, and he brings a little bit of quality to that midfield. I know there was a lot of talk, obviously, last year, and probably will be this year, about the fact we kind of play kick and run football a lot. It's a lot of long balls. It's a lot of, trying to stretch the pitch and hit teams on the break. But when you've got a player like Kenzo Goudmijn, you've got somebody that can actually do something a little bit different, and he'll provide a different dimension, won't he, for Derby going forwards this season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you think about the playmaker role as such, obviously Conor Hourihane was sort of in that mold. Now we finally sort of replaced it with maybe someone potentially better and also younger. So Kenzo was really impressed, especially in the Stockport game. I thought he controlled the midfield well. he held off quite a few challenges as well. So he's got that bit of physicality about him. But like you said, he offers something different. And then when we look at looking at the potential balance of the midfield, you need somebody like Kenzo in there that can be that playmaker that can sort of unlock defenses with that killer pass going forward, whether it's straight down the middle or if it's out to the wings. But yeah, I think the signing of Kenzo is going to be a shrewd one, in my opinion. I think we're really going to see him shine this year. And like I said, he's only 22. He looks like he's got to grips with the English game. I know it's only pre-season, but you can tell quite a lot from the way somebody plays. The physicality we all sort of question because of how small he looked fine to me against Stockport, looked all right against Matlock as well. So I think he'll be all right on that side. But like we said, we'll see what happens when the season begins. But we need that playmaker in the midfield. And like we said, when it comes to talking about the balance of the midfield, I think it's very key. So great signing so far. Let's hope he can shine and long may his good form continue.
Yeah, let's hope so. Can he do it against a team that's not a league below us? That's the question. Let's really hope so. I mean, other players that sort of stood out. I mean, I've got him written down here, and we've got a comment from Sally talking about it, about Kane Wilson. Now, I thought, again, as Sally says, he looked really fit, really sharp, and he created no end of chances. He did the same against Matlock as well, and Wilson looks like he's come back. I mean, I think he said in a quote to on one of Derby's channels, he's the fittest, the fastest, and the fattest. I think was his exact words, and that's why they call him the Buffalo. And the way he carries the ball, the way he beats players. I mean, he put a chance on a plate, or one or two chances on a plate in that first and second half of the three halves. But he really, really looked good, didn't he, Callum? And it's great to see him back, and he's going to be playing in his favoured position at right wing back this season, and that's exactly what we want, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's a fan favourite. I mean, Derby fans do love him. He's so direct, and we've got someone there who's not just a pace fullback or wing back. He's got feet. His feet are so good to watch. And for someone who's, as I say, he's had his journey that he has going through Forest Green and working his way up and kind of getting his name out there. He then went to obviously Bristol City. Didn't really get obviously going there with an injury. He's then come to us, and he's over the last period of time that he's been with us, he's just developed really, really well. I think it's one of the ones that Paul Warne, I've got to give his hat off to, and his team. He's really, really improved because he's not only now just making runs for the sake of it. If he doesn't see it, he'll come inside. He'll play inside to the central midfielders. If he thinks he's got the beating of his man, he's gone. And I mean, the one bit of play against Stockport in Spain, he took it past two or three and then bodied one straight on the floor and put him on his backside and then took it down the box. And it was just that little 2 seconds too soon for, I think it was Caden Jackson. So yeah, one that's really come back strong. And when you look at him against other players, he's come. I think everyone said. I think he beat Callum Elder in a fitness test that they did. And fair play to him. He's young, he's hungry, and he's ready to. I think he's enjoying his time at Derby, and I think he wants to start the Championship season really, really strong, because the last time he obviously was in the Championship with Bristol didn't quite go to plan. So I think he's got something on his mind to put to rest.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look back to Kane Wilson when he signed, I mean, he signed almost 1 year ago, exactly, wasn't it? He joined just as we went over to Spain, and you look at the difference in him as a player between then and now, and the confidence he has. I remember he played in a couple of friendlies towards the start of last season. He played out on the left wing, and there were times when he looked unplayable for about 30 seconds. And then for the next 30 seconds, he looked like the worst footballer you'd ever seen. And I think he's gained that consistency now, and he's gained that understanding of his position, of the team, of how he wants to play. And a big thing in football, and something you can't buy, is confidence. He's got that confidence at the minute. He's had a great season playing for us in League One. Now he's back up to the Championship. As someone said in the comments, he'll want to prove his Championship level again. And this is his opportunity to do it. If he's ever going to do it, it's now. So, yeah, as Vic would say, long may that continue. And hopefully he can keep doing it. But Vic, I mean, as I said there about Kane Wilson, he's clearly an excellent player. Can you see him being our main man at right wing back this season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you look at the options that we've got other than him, you've got Joe Ward, potentially Ryan Nyambe, but I think Nyambe is going to form part of that back three. So you're looking at maybe the competition with just Ward, and if you've got the option between the two, Kane Wilson wins that every day and twice on Sundays. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with Kane. Like I said, maybe he just needed a home. Like we've said this a lot in the last season or so about players needing homes, and it's probably credit down to Paul Warne's man management as well. I think he instilled that confidence in him, let him be as free as he wanted to be on that right wing, and it's worked out for him. So yeah, Kane Wilson's looked like I can't even say a brand new player. He looked like he's fit. He looks sharp. He looks like he's raring to go. I don't think there's much competition unless we do decide to sign anybody else. I don't think Joe Ward, as fit as he's looking as well, I don't think he's going to challenge him that much because we know what Kane possesses. He's got that extra bit of spark, that extra bit of quality, that something of the unknown that he'll either take a player on or he can find a killer pass. So I'm really pleased that he's come back all guns blazing, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him charge down that right wing in the Championship.
See, I'd stolen your catchphrase there, Vic, so you can't use it again. I could see it. I could see it in your eyes.
You've done me. I was burning inside.
I mean, another player we have to mention is someone I thought was going to play at wing back and actually came on in midfield, and that's Ben Osborne. Played in the centre, ended up with Thompson moving out to wing back, which was kind of funny. But Ben Osborne came into the team and he played an unbelievable ball over to Dosanjh Brown. I mean, I'm talking unbelievable. Dropped onto his toe just outside the box. And that's the sort of pass that we've kind of been lacking a little bit. And I think that's the sort of thing we're expecting from Goudmijn as well. But Osborne can obviously play in a number of positions, Callum. We sort of got a bit of a glimpse of what he's about. We knew, if you'd listened to our episode with Hal from Sheffield United Way, we know how good his left foot is. We know how good his passing is, how good his crossing is, how good his set pieces are. And it was his set piece that ended up winning us the game with Sonny Bradley nodding it in at the far post. I mean, we talk about important players. Ben Osborne seems the perfect player for this Paul Warne system, whether he plays in the middle, whether he plays on the left. Callum, how impressed were you?
Very impressed. He injected that bit of something that we needed in that Stockport game that I was looking forward to seeing. But I'm with you. I thought he was going to be left wing back. I didn't anticipate him to be in midfield. And that's not saying that when he signed, we weren't thinking he was going to be a midfielder at all. That's what he is by trade, and he can play on the left. But then when you look at him, he's so diversified in terms of what he can do, and I think that's what Paul Warne likes. He can play multiple positions, and I think we will see him in both positions throughout the season, depending on who we're playing and injuries, etc. But I think that when we look at Ben Osborne and what he can do, it's not just he can run around. He's got ball quality. I mean, he really goes and looks for the ball. He wants the ball, which is what I really liked about him. And he likes it in like small pockets. Like he doesn't mind if a player's on him. He's not scared to have his back with a player on him. He'll just lay it back to someone, or he'll find a play in behind. And it wasn't something I wasn't not going to see or was surprised, but I was surprised with how quick he got to terms with the way we played and stuff. Because obviously he got a small setback and didn't play at Matlock. So no, really impressed and looking forward to seeing him develop over the pre-season and really seeing which way Paul Warne goes. Does he give him an opportunity on the left, or is he going to pursue and stick him down the middle and keep Thompson as a backup wing back on the left?
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned sort of his quality on the ball. You got to think he's played, top end Championship and in the Premier League for the majority of the last 5 years. And when you play at that level and you're exposed to that sort of level of football, you're going to be a better player mentally. He's going to be quick. His thinking's going to be quick. He's always been a smart player, but playing at that level will have taken him to another level. Those quick, like you mentioned, those quick bounce passes back into the middle, they help you find those angles that are really important. And when you watch teams at the top level, obviously it's delusional to compare as the likes of Man City and teams like that. But you look at the way they move the ball and it's very quick, one touch, they'll move the ball around in tight spaces. And Osborne's experience playing against that, and his experience playing at the top of the Championship as well, where some teams play a similar type of football. So yeah, it'll be beneficial having his experience in those sort of positions. I mean, Vic, out of the two positions, Callum mentioned there, I think he's predominantly played on the left side for the majority of his career as a wing back, a left winger, but he has filled in midfield as well. I mean, which one would you rather he was playing in?
Again, it's that age-old question of, do we want to have that balance in the midfield, or do we want to sort of stick him at left wing back because we know we can play that position as well. I mean, him playing in midfield against Stockport, he put that ball through for Brown, but he also did one for Jackson, I think, prior to that as well, sent him through 1-on-1. And again, if you've got that sort of midfield double of him and Kenzo, there's your creative spark already. You've got the two players there to do your creative work, and then you'll have, obviously, the Messiah's back now, Ibu Adams, doing the dirty work in that defensive midfield role. There's your midfield balance for me then. So I think preferably I'd like to stick him in midfield just because if you've got him, Kenzo and Ibu together as a three, that's your midfield sorted, then that's your balance. Again, with Paul Warne playing him in midfield, I'd like to think that maybe he's got a left wing back lined up then because I can't see Thompson staying there long term. I don't think he's going to want to ruin another midfielder's career and play him left wing back. So, yeah, we've got Callum and Fozzie as well. But I think he'll probably bring a left wing back in. But I'm really excited to see that midfield trio of Adams, Osborne, and Kenzo just to see how that works in the Championship. And creatively, it's sort of righted the wrongs of last season because last season we were quite predictable with those two in the middle. They'll unlock defenses and we can play through the middle as well as out wide. So it's an exciting midfield three there. So yeah, I think stick him in the middle for me.
It's interesting though, because what system will we play? I mean, we've seen already that we've experimented with a 3-4-3. Obviously, that leaves only two central midfield spots, and you got to think Kenzo Goudmijn's going to have one, and Ibu Adams is going to have the other. And that doesn't really leave a space for Ben Osborne. I think you'd rather have him on the left rather than have him on the bench. You know what I mean? I think Callum Elder's place is probably not very secure on the left hand side of that, I guess, back five. It's more likely to be Ben Osborne. So I think he's probably done himself a few favours being a jack of all trades. You mentioned, like we said, he can play any of those positions and that will help him. I think if you play him in the middle, are you sort of putting another square peg in a round hole? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen. If he can keep passing the ball like that, I don't think we'll have any problems, will we? So let's just hope he can keep doing it. One player that we do need to bring up that Jim's mentioned in the comments is Rohan Luthra. Now, he played the last third, didn't he? I thought he did pretty well. I thought he dealt with some pretty dodgy back passes as well, pretty well. He did a good job. He was playing last season at Slough Town, which ironically is an interesting fact, is the team that Paul Warne's son, Mackenzie Warne, played at last season. So I have a feeling that's how Warne would have seen him play, on loan from Cardiff City. 22 years old. I thought he looked decent. I thought he put in a decent performance. I don't think he looked out of place at all. Obviously, it's pre-season. You can only see so much, but it's looking likely he's going to be a third choice. I mean, Carl, he played not bad, did he? He wouldn't be a bad third choice if he came in, and that'd probably allow someone like Jack Thompson to go out on loan and develop himself as well.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Warne alluded to it in his post-match that he was a trial keeper. He's not going. They still need a first choice number one to rival Vickers. So he's not going to be that sort of signing. He's something that we need for depth, and as you say, it kind of means that we can send Jack out on loan, and we'll see how he develops. Because I think he's been someone who's been chomping at the bit and has been really. I think I saw an interview with Rams TV, and he is at that next point in his career where he needs to be rivaling first team football, and that'll probably be going out to maybe League Two or in the National League maybe, and going and getting him some first team minutes. So I think it'd be something for all parties that we can kind of have it, because you usually see in championship, most squads nowadays, whatever league you're in, but with three keepers and a young one just to keep the other ones on their toes, and he's decent with his feet, as you say. He didn't do anything wrong, and as you mentioned, there's a couple of back passes that he did deal with, but I think that's just been in the academy setup. You're kind of used to that sort of thing, but I think he'll be very. It's just one of those signings that he won't probably pull up any trees or anything like that. He might maybe start in one of the trophies in all the cup games, but other than that, I think he'll just be there to be part of the team while we send out Jack out on loan.
Yeah, definitely. Seen a comment about captains. Do not worry, we will get to that. But I mean, we need to touch on Matlock a little bit as well. 3-0 win.
Mm.
Obviously, Liam Thompson scored a screamer, which was very, very good to see. Good to see him getting some game time. And as well, I mean, Kenzo Goudmijn made his debut. I thought Alex Stepien Iwimene looked very good in midfield. Got a great assist for Jackson in the first half, who was really quick, by the way, isn't he?
He is very
Absolutely
quick.
rapid. So I think that'll be if he can learn to finish in the next few weeks, he'll be a special player, won't he?
I think that's happened to his career, though, isn't it? It's the goals.
Yeah.
It's the goals. That's all he needs.
Yeah,
He
I
get
mean,
one though. He has got one.
He has. I mean, Vic, looking at players, I mean, one player I want to pick out is Jerry Yates as well. I think in both games, his movement's been brilliant, and it's really nice to see. I mean, I know we get a little bit of flack for maybe slandering James Collins a little bit on here, but I think James Collins' biggest weakness is his complete lack of movement in the penalty area. There isn't any unless it's a set piece. So balls going into the box, and we've got someone like Yates attacking that ball, gambling on chances. I mean, even if he doesn't convert all of them, even if he misses a fair few as well, he's still going to score goals this season. And when it comes to staying up in the Championship, that's exactly what you need, isn't it?
Well, yeah, exactly. And if you go back to the Matlock game, his goal came from just taking that gamble on a rebound, which is something that we didn't really see Collins do that much last season. So you see with Jerry Yates, it's a different dimension to what we already got. He does sort of play on the shoulder of the last man. He stretches that play, but he can run in behind, and it's a different option to what we already got. For me, I still think I'd like to see him play with another player up top. So as in like a 3-5-2. I think he might benefit from that more. But the good signs are there. I think Jerry Yates is going to be a really key signing this season. Again, he's probably another player just needs a home, needs a bit of confidence. And if Paul won't do that, give him confidence, let him play his game, we might get the best out of him. I think he'll be beneficial in a 2 up top. But yeah, the signs are good for him, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he contributes to the 15 plus goals that he's going to score this season and keep us up.
15 plus, I like it.
Gotta be optimistic. Gotta be optimistic.
No, I love it. And Callum's just we've got a little private chat when we record. He's just put Vic with a crisp new mic. Sounds class. You do, Vic. Honestly, you sound like a different man.
I feel like a different man.
I love it. He's got his headphones
that
on. He's got his new mic. He's like radio ready. He's radio ready.
The mic cover looks so clean because it literally is so clean because it's never been used.
Oh gosh.
But right, we do need to touch on some transfer stuff as well. I mean, we've mentioned goalkeepers already. Obviously, Rohan Luther won't be Derby's new number one going into the season, but we've missed out on Matt Ryan, who's gone to Roma, which is mental. We missed on Ladaki. Is that how you say it? I don't know. Could be wrong.
Yeah, I think
from
you're right.
Ipswich, who I think has gone to Burnley off the top of my head. And we've also had a bid rejected. It is, yeah. And we've had a bid rejected for Djurgården goalkeeper Jakob Vidal Zetterstrom, who is a few facts about him. He's 26. He wears one of those funny hats that Petr Cech wears. Don't know why. Maybe he's had some sort of head injury in the past. He's 6'5". He's a Sweden international, the same way that Callum Elder is an Australia international with one cap. And yeah, we had that bid turned down of around 250,000. So we'll see if Derby come in with any more for him. We're also still rumoured to be in for Daniel Iverson, obviously on loan at Stoke last season. We've talked about him at length already. Is at Leicester. It's interesting. One came out and said he thought he had a deal agreed for a goalkeeper. He said there was a stumbling block. I mean, if it's about Iverson, I'd assume it'd probably be about a transfer fee, as he's coming from Leicester, and they're said to have wanted a few million for him, which clearly we're not going to pay for a championship level goalkeeper. There's also been talk about Marek Rodak as well. Obviously one that was brought up by us in the past because he's really good and he's available on a free as well. So, I mean, goalkeeper-wise, Callum, I mean, if it's going to be any of those that are still available, which one would you rather have? Are you going to choose Zetterstrom just because he wears a Petr Cech hat?
Well, I mean, when you were saying it, I was going to say Gesundheit because that name. I mean, these names that we've
He's
been linked
Swedish.
To, yeah, I know.
That's German. That's.
But when you look at his stature and everything, he screams out a player that we really, really want. But then when I don't know. It's so unknown. I mean, it's so rogue for us. It's been so many years since we've been going out to these sort of foreign nations and going and getting these players that no one's ever heard of and bringing them over to the league. And I'm all for it, but I think that we just need to do it if the transfer fee's right. I think I've seen it on Twitter over the past couple of days where people are kind of debating why so many deals have apparently like fallen through because of like obviously money at the end of the day, that we're not that club anymore who just will go and spend silly money on a player. We will get the price that we think is right and we will hold out and or go look somewhere else. And I think it's the goalkeeping position, if I'm right in saying, where Warren's gone and said, when the transfer happens, if the one that he wants happens, everything will come to fruition with why it's taken so long. And I'll be very interested to see if we do get that particular player, because I'll be interested to see as to why it's taken this long, if it is money or if there's any other reason. But I would go with the rogue one just because I like an unknown entity, and I like I'd like to go and see people get behind that. And obviously having a Petr Cech star for Derby, that'd be class. But if anything, him, I've got to go with Iverson just because I picked him out in my goalkeeping list. I think Rodak is again a quality keeper, but again I think his wage expectations might be a bit too high. And we'll see. It's a position we need to fill soon though, because we can't go into the season with just Vickers. We need a goalkeeper very, very soon. So hopefully this week.
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep in mind that Rodak is ex-Rotherham, so don't forget that. What if the new goalkeeper is Keller-Roos and the complication was he dropped his phone when he was trying to answer it, and he's waiting for a new phone to come? You know, you never know. You never know.
Yeah,
could be. I mean, other transfer news, Vic. Ozo is a player that's going to apparently come in. There's been a lot of talk about players coming in at Derby for the last few days. Paul Warne came out, said he'd actually signed a midfielder, and we find out early next week. I was watching some clips of him this morning, and he looks very combative. He carries the ball very well. I know Callum's already done some recording to talk about him as well. So if it falls through, unlucky Cal. But he looks, I tell you, he reminds me of a little bit. He plays very similar to Ibu Adams, but Ibu Adams, if he was good on the ball as well, which is quite nice to see. You know, if you watch clips of him, he's winning the ball back deep, but then he's carrying that ball and driving forwards and bringing us into the right places. And Vic, I mean, we talked about in the Ibu Adams signing episode, Jake made a big point of what if one of those players gets injured? Well, I think we've got our answer, because we've got another one waiting in the wings to come in that can do the same job.
Literally just stole my line there, because I was going to say exactly the same. He's like a young Ibu Adams, but again, it goes back to squad depth. I think we're going to need it in the Championship. We're again the underdogs. We're one of the teams that are probably favourites for relegation in most bookies' odds and maybe some Derby fans' odds, but it's squad depth for us. There's a lot of promising signs again of Ozo. He looks good. He looks the part. And like we said, if Ibu does get injured, and that, trust me, I had a heart in mouth moment when I seen him go off with that dead leg. I was
I've
like,
never seen a man so worry in a group chat. I've never seen a man so worry. I was just like, mate, it's fine.
It's like George Thorne all over again. But,
Send it away.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like you said, it's a ready-made replacement for Ozo. And again, he can carry the ball as well, so there's another dimension to that. It's nice to see us have a load of different midfield options as well. I think we looked sparse before these players were coming in, so it looks promising. A season-long loan deal is probably perfect for him and perfect for us as well. So I'm quite excited to see how he'll fit in at Derby, and I'm pretty sure he's probably the midfielder that's probably going to be announced tomorrow, I'd imagine.
Hope so.
But then there's also talks about Dembele, and there's been a bid put in.
He's not a midfielder. He's not.
Yeah, I know.
No way.
Depending on who you ask, yeah. But yeah, no. Also looks promising. Again, a young Ibu Adams, and if he produces anything like Ibu Adams did, there's no complaints here, is there, from us? So
yeah,
can't wait.
Dembele being a midfielder is like us calling Mendes Lang a midfielder. I don't think it quite works. I've seen people argue it because he's played in the centre before, but anyway, not important. But yeah, that's where it's looking on a transfer front at the minute. I mean, positions we need to improve is quite an important question. I mean, Paul Warne still wants 5 or 6 players, doesn't he? I mean, if Ozo's the first one to come in, I think we probably need one more creative midfielder, maybe. I think we probably need a centre-back. And I had a comment earlier about Sonny Bradley. I thought he looked decent when he came on. He had a couple of shaky moments, but he did well as well. That recovery tackle. I say tackle, that recovery push in the back. To stop them scoring that one-on-one, and then obviously the header to score. We were linked with a player whose name I've completely forgotten now, but he's 6'5", another defender. So I have a feeling Paul will want to get one of those giant 8 feet tall defenders in to target at set pieces like we did towards the end of last season. So yeah, I have a feeling like that, and I think we probably need another maybe left wing back. I don't know, Cal. What positions do you think? What positions do we need to improve the most?
I think definitely one more option up top, because I think Jerry Yates needs someone a proper number 9. I'm sorry, Collins, but I'm thinking you're going to be just there to help out if we need you. But I don't think he'll be that starting option that we need if Yates, say, gets an injury or anything. I mean, at the end of the day, he can't start for the first few games, so we've got to have someone else there. And I'm just not quite sure on Collins. I'm not sure if anyone else is, but not me. But I think Paul Warne, actually, I appreciate you say like a very tall and athletic defender, but I think he said pacey. We need a pacey defender, especially in the back three. That's Cashin, bless him, it runs and runs and runs, but he's not pacey. Nelson can shift.
Niami's pretty quick as well.
Yeah, he is, yeah. But behind that, there is not a lot. Bradley got burned by one of the Stockport players in the game, and it's just not his game. He's not that sort of, he's not a pacey defender. So I think we'll need a young, maybe potential one from the Premier League on loan or something similar to Ozo. That's that maybe one of the ones that Vic pointed out in his list. But someone who's just got a bit of pace and a bit of, as I say, passing range, because we seem to be like passing it from the 3 centre halves, whether that's a crossfield ball or into the midfield or whatever. So someone who is decent with their feet. So yeah, I'd say the centre half, goalkeeper 100%, and a striker. I think because of the way we're going, I don't think we'll need wingers. If anything, you might say a 10. Like
we already have about 5 wingers.
I know. We've got Barkes and we've got Corey Blackett, we've got Mendez-Lang. I mean, I'll be here all day, but we'll be kind of playing them in like those 10s or on the wingers just off the number 9. So because Warren keeps talking about doing 2 10s, they're not natural wingers. We're not doing the 4-3-2-1 anymore. They're going to be just off the striker or just behind the striker. So yeah. So if anything, then you probably say, like you said, a creative midfielder. But if there's only going to be 2, and we've already signed 4 or 5, then how many more probably do you put in that locker? I think we need depth elsewhere, maybe a wing back, right wing back or something like that. Because obviously Ward, I haven't seen. There's Ward actually featured at the moment, so I think he only featured.
I can't remember him playing, but he's back in training.
Yeah, so once maybe we get him fit, then it might be all right to right wing back and stuff. And if Osborne is that on the left wing back, might be all right, but maybe one more of those. But yeah, 5 or 6 does sound right when you actually do list them all down. So so it's probably about right for Paul Warne. He's never happy though. He always wants to improve the team, which is great for us.
Yeah, I mean, Vic, it's not just going to be incomings. There's definitely going to be some outgoings as well, because yes, we need to bring a few more players in, but the squad's starting to grow a little bit now. There's players in certain positions that I don't think will get a look in. I mean, if we bring in another left wing back, I can't see Callum Elders staying, for example. Tyrese Forner in midfield. If you look at the players that are in front of him, when David Ozo comes in, when, obviously we've got Ibu Adams, we've got Kenzo Goudmijn. We've got a lot of players in that position that are just going to play over him because they are better, in all honesty. I mean, who can you see going?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I think Forner will definitely go, just because I think if we are looking at a couple more midfielders, he's not going to get a look in. And I think it might be best for his career too. Yeah, I'd imagine. I think I really got a feeling Barkhausen's going to go. I just think that, again, when I look at this system, and I'm pretty sure Paul said it in his interview, it's sort of trying to fit players in just to get minutes. Now, to me, that might suggest that you're just fitting in players for the sake of it, and maybe you haven't really got them in your plans for the season coming ahead. So I reckon Tom Barkhausen might leave, which again might be best for his career. I think he's on the wrong side of 30. Good squad option, but I don't think he's going to want to be a squad player. I think he's going to want first team football. again, if we do bring another left wing back in, Callum will probably go as well. I'm led to believe that I don't think Paul Warne rates him that much or that highly. So I reckon Elder might go too. Other than that, I think I actually did think we might get rid of Sonny Bradley. To be honest, I'm not on the Adam Golanga trade at the minute, but I did think Sonny Bradley might go if we do decide to get another centre back in. Maybe just to bring the age down. But I reckon those sorts of areas we'll probably look at maybe to offload. And if we are looking to bring 6 in, there's definitely got to be some outgoings because the squad's going to be too fat then, isn't it? We need to trim it down a bit. So yeah, I reckon those 4 players will probably move on.
Yeah, our under 21s will be unbelievable though, with the 5 over 21 players we'll be able to have. We'll probably win that league. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We'll win that league, which would be good. But that takes us to one more question. Now, Derby, I can't remember the last time Derby made a new signing captain. I don't know if when was the last time was it? I'm trying to think.
You don't really see it much anymore, though, do you?
Chris Baird. I think Chris Baird. I was just racking my brain then. Chris Baird, when he came in and Rowett took the captaincy off Keogh, I think it was. Or Clement, took the captaincy off Keogh and gave it to Chris Baird. I think that was the last time we've done it. So I think it's quite unlikely that a new signing would be made captain. I'm interested in your thoughts, Callum. I mean, who would you pick as captain and who would you realistically think it's going to be? Because a few players have had it. Bradley's obviously worn it in pre-season. Fozzie's worn it. Mendes Lang's worn it. We've had a few players that have worn it. Who would you give it to?
I always say it's someone who's never going to be out the squad, someone who leads by example, and it's someone who I have never seen wear the captain's armband, well, as of late, and that's Curtis Nelson. I'd have him, but because I think he's an outstanding role model. He puts himself right in terms of his professionalism. He played every single minute last year with Erin Cashin, and he's helped him develop, and he's at that age where he can demand of people. I mean, when he demanded Fozzie, I think, was it Fozzie to stay on the pitch and stuff like that, or he's not going off and stuff like that. So it's those sort of things that, like, you want a captain to be that sort of authority figure for the rest of the team, and it was one of the outstanding players last year that we probably weren't expecting, and I think it's something that probably be the next stage for him in that leadership group to do it. But I just don't know maybe if he maybe wants that. I don't know, because he's not obviously had the captain's armband throughout any of the preseason games or anything like that, whether he's just opting himself out and he just wants to get on with his game. So if you were going to say that, you'd probably say Fozzie is the club captain. But then, obviously, is Fozzie going to play every game? I want a captain who's playing rather than kind of that figure of we'll give it to them because of what they've done for the club. I understand that fans do want that because of Fozzie's time here and for everything he's done for Derby and his commitments he's shown and stuff. He's kind of shown everything that you want as a captain, but is he going to play every week? That's my only thing against Fozzie. So I'll pick one of those two if my ideal world, but my ideal will probably be Curtis Nelson.
Yeah, it's interesting you say about playing, because I think a captain's responsibility is much greater than just on a match day. It's not about who shouts the most on the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot about it behind the scenes as well, all the stuff from training during the week, a lot of interaction with supporters, a lot of interaction.
Tickets.
Yeah, and you know, they've got a lot to sort of work with off the pitch as well. And I guess, you know, Vic sort of looking at it from that perspective, I think Curtis Nelson, I agree. I think he's a great shout. I think Fozzie's a great shout. I even think Mendes Lang probably a decent shout as well. What do you reckon?
Yeah, all very good options. I mean, I would have said Curtis Nelson, but I'm going to go a bit rogue. And I think there's a player that we've got at Derby that I think is a captain in waiting. He is young, but I think he can make that step up. And I'm going to say Erin Cashin. I think he leads by example at the back. I think he can do that role perfectly. I think he's captain material. I mean, if you look at the squad, we've got a lot of experience in that team, and any one of the experienced players can take it. But for me, I think Cashin is that sort of player that's maybe ready to make that step up as being a club captain. So I'd give him the armband, see if he can do everything that we've said and maybe more. Like, Cashin's good outside of football as well, like in terms of the community. He does a lot of work and stuff, and he's a good role model. And if you're looking at somebody that maybe deserves the armband, obviously the obvious picks are Nelson, but for me, if we're going to chuck a rogue option, I'd like to give it to Cashin, just because I think he's done pretty well with it. He's done pretty well as a Derby player. He's led by example. He's stuck around. There's not many players left from the original squad that have gone down, and he knows what it takes to be a Derby player living in the area as well. So yeah, why not him? Or we could have said Ben Osborne, but I'm going to go with Cashin.
I agree to a point. I wouldn't want to put that much pressure and responsibility on a young lad going back up to the Championship. That's the only thing for me. I think the perfect thing would be to give it to someone like Fozzie. Especially, in fact, I think the easiest thing would be to give it to someone like Fozzie, who might not necessarily play every game, can do the captain responsibility, and when they step in, they can do what they need to do. Even if it's someone like Curtis Nelson, I feel like I agree with you, Vic. I get your sentiment, and I think Cashin's a brilliant role model. You know, the way he stuck with the club. I know he almost left, but he has stuck by the club, and here he is back in the Championship after helping lead us up, you know, from League One. So I think it's great that we've got so many options. I mean, I think that's a few years ago. I think we had like one, maybe two. Which
I think I put in that little chat. It'd be interesting to see how we do it going into the new season. Will we do a vote, or will we, like we did last time, which rub things up the wrong way? I think they just want the manager to pick a captain, but I understand what Warren does. He wants the players to recognise who they want as their captain, so I understand why he does it. But it'd be interesting to see, does it follow the same suit as last year, or does Warren just go, no, this is your new captain?
Yeah, to be honest, in my personal opinion, I don't really care what the fans think about any Derby captain that we have. I think it's, you know, it's clearly something inside the dressing room. Like, people were angry about Hourihan, and yet Hourihan led a team up from League One. So, you know, I'd probably say the second most, you know, maybe criticised captain Derby have had behind Tom Lawrence, and he's led us to promotion. And, you know, he might not have been the best on the pitch, but you talk to any of the players and they'll talk about how good he was off it, and how he demanded more in training, and how he always made sure that everyone was the best sort of person that they could be. So, yeah, I think it all completely depends on that, but I'm sure we'll find out. So yeah, on that note, let's end it there. I mean, like I said, it's going to carry on growing, isn't it? I'm sure we'll sign some more players. Hopefully, by the time people are listening to this on their morning commute on a Monday morning, or on the way home, we've already signed David Ozo, and we're on the way to building a really good team. Let's hope we can keep building and keep building a team that we're interested in watching, because we've had some pretty bad ones in recent years. So, right, thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like, please do subscribe, please do give us a rating if you're on Spotify or Apple Pods. We're really grateful for anyone that gives us support, and everyone that's listening is helping to fund us basically becoming better than what we currently are. So thank you so much for that. I guess that's it. That's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Nice one. Vic, you didn't even say the catchphrase.
No.
Long may it continue.
And on that note, we'll see you all soon. Have a great week.